Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the Weekly Comic Roundup. We've covered quite a bit so far. Now it's time for this week's Avengers books. Kicking things off with Black Panther number 13. Where we left off, Black Panther, having discovered that his friend Jahai, whom he thought was dead since the beginning of this run, was the one behind the recent data center attacks, recruited some allies, though not ones that would be in his contingency files. They split into a handful of teams and went after them. So we got a flashback to just before Jahai and Omolola went on their assignments as sleeper agents for T'Challa. Concludes a conversation between, which is followed by a conversation between Jahai and T'Challa. Jahai learns that there's no son of T'Challa, so Jahai has his people put on high alert, knowing that T'Challa will come for them. And so, all three groups head out. We've got Shuri with Gentle and Tosin, Buffalo Soldier with the emancipated former wives of the colonialist, and T'Challa with Omolola and the Prime Minister's assistant. However, each jet is stopped by an Avenger. Captain Marvel stops Buffalo Soldier's jet. Captain America goes after T'Challa's, and Thor goes after Shuri's. Jets are forced to land. And it appears that Captain Marvel speaks the language of the emancipated. But the main thing is the representative, the staff member of the Prime Minister basically calls in a treaty, a treated ally, while Captain America and Black Panther go head to head. And well, Cap wins. Cap somewhat wins the fight. But it's cut short by the arrival of Namor's would-be ally, or with the arrival of Black Panther's would-be ally Namor. Stating that Atlantis fights at T'Challa's side. And that is where the issue ends. Of all the countries, of all the people that of all the countries in the Marvel Universe for Wakanda to have a treaty with, Atlantis, especially with Namor in charge. For those unaware, during Avengers vs. X-Men, Namor, when he had a portion of the Phoenix Force bonded to him, flooded Wakanda. Yeah. Apparently, the Ridley arc is, I don't know, it's got its moments. Apparently, it's ending in 2 more issues, so there's been a lot of it has not exactly been well liked online either. But we'll see if really managed to redeem things by the end of it. Moving on to our next book, we've got Captain America Symbol of Truth, number 9. Where we left off in Wakanda, Cap and Nomad were helping the anti-government rebels, though it turns out that the government forces had bombed a hospital. Back in the States, Falcon had mutated into a human-bird hybrid and had ended up at his family's home. So, Cap, Nomad, and his Wakandan allies go to make sure to, rescue these survivors of the hospital attack. The White Wolf, talking with his some of the members of his government or of his regime, and basically this is what the Mohans that are part of this regime, they're all on board, but Cap and the rebels rescue some of the people in the hospital, discovering that some of the doctors were on a higher floor, and manage to do what they can to get people out. However, the Frocks, a race from Dimension Z, who helped Steve Rogers raise Nomad, have been are apparently allied with the White Wolf, presumably somehow brainwashed or something, so that they don't recognize Nomad, or at least seemingly being controlled. Sam summons forth a whole bunch of birds to be coverage for him while he tricks some guided missiles into going after each other. Destroys the transmitter. But it doesn't seem to do much to stop the Frocks. But when Sam gets back to the ground, however, Falcon's there. And apparently Falcon wants Sam's blood for abandoning him. That is where the issue ends. And this is all building up to the upcoming crossover between the two Captain America titles. See how that all plays out. But moving on to our next book, we've got Monica Rambeau, Photon, number 2. Where we left off, Monica had, when visiting her parents, had a moment where she needed some space, and so she flew off into space. But something strange happened. So Monica wakes up on the deck of a boat, her boat, the Willie Mae, sees a meteorite hurtling to Earth, tries to phase inside of it, and basically blow it up into small pieces that will do as little damage as possible. But she can't phase out of it. It appears to be infused with dark force energy. But the meteorite falls into the ocean. When she comes to, she's back on her boat, and there's a strange woman there, who introduces herself as the Beyonder. She detected Monica's power and, came to Earth and was fascinated by the place. And then the Avengers are there. Monica's team of Avengers. Cap, Black Knight, Thor, She-Hulk, and Dr. Druid. All in their old early 80s costumes. And referring to Monica as their leader. And as Captain Marvel, as opposed to Photon. But Beyonder talks about what is it about her interests and her curiosities, and but the Beyonder takes Monica to a basically no space, I guess, and they talk. And Monica tries to deal with her as though as she's not the Beyonder that has caused so much trouble for the Marvel Universe in the past. But and it's thought that perhaps but Monica realizes that perhaps the Stone of Hala is responsible for what's happened, and she hasn't traveled back in time. Ended up in another dimension, a dimension where things are moving at a slower pace, and that Earth's Monica is going by Captain Marvel and is chairperson of the Avengers. But another difference is that apparently on this Earth, Monica's parents are dead. And when Monica tries to show the Avengers that her parents aren't dead, instead, Monica and the Avengers are all met by Monica's husband, Jericho Drumm. And that is where the issue ends. That's not what I was expecting. But yeah, that was definitely something. Moving on to our next book, we've got Savage Avengers number 9. Where we left off, most of the Savage Avengers have been deathlocked by Ultron in 2099. We get a flashback to when the day that Jake Gallows' family died. We learned that apparently Ultron had dropped Compound D on the settlement area, and his family had been turned into Deathlocks, and so he killed them and vowed to take down Ultron. But Miles, Deathlock, and Punisher are trying to get the Doom's Gauntlet from Ultron in the hopes that maybe that could fix things. But they're met by the Savage Deathlocks. They manage to escape, in part because Doom shows up and diverts the Savage Deathlocks' attention. Miles goes into cyberspace to contact basically the minds of the Avengers. Punisher deals with a bunch of the Deathlocks and ends up sacrificing himself to take a large number of them out, while Miles manages to get through to all of them. And the Deathlocks, their personalities return, and they douse themselves into Compound D, controlling what the nanosolution will do to them, and return as flesh and blood. And that is where the issue ends. Okay, alright. I'm not sure if this is going to be ending soon or what, but so we got an ending source for a version of the 2099 Punisher. But anyways, moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got Avengers War Across Time, number 1. I think this is the beginning of a miniseries written by Paul Levitz and drawn by Alan Davis. So this issue takes place in the aftermath of Avengers number 11, wherein which featured the Avengers fighting a robot version of Spider-Man that had been sent to the past by Kang. So the Avengers return from the battle and do what they can to fix any damage in the city. Cap is met by, well, various admirers as well as fellow veterans. Kang is trying to figure out what to do about how to handle the Avengers. Turns out one weapon that he has might still work, though. The gamma-irradiated heart of the Hulk. It still glows with power. And so the Hulk is sent to attack the Avengers, but it's a Kang-created robot, which Rick Jones is able to figure out when Hulk drops when the Hulk bot stops acting like, you know, the Hulk, and Kang seems to take over. Basically explaining that he means to destroy Rick Jones. But Iron Man shows up. The Avengers managed to stop at least temporarily stop the Hulk robot, in part by electrocuting it in the subway and the third rail, electrocuting it, and also basically getting away from ambient gamma radiation. With Thor seemingly dealing the finishing blow, and the Avengers deciding that well, if Kang wants to start stuff, well, maybe it's time they go up. Instead of letting Kang come to them, they'll go to Kang. And that is where the issue ends. And I gotta say, this felt like an old Silver Age Marvel book. Some little details are Betty Brant popping by a newsstand early on to asking about competing papers of the Bugle. Captain America saving Aunt May on the subway when the Hulk robot shows up down there, and her bringing up her nephew Peter. You know, those little fun things. You know, it's stuff that it happened. It's kind of something that used to happen a lot, but now it's starting to happen again, but not as much. But anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.